Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at how to take what seems like a standard procurement list and transform it into a vibrant, highly interactive hospitality lab for classes 9 through 12. If you've ever stared at a list of required lab equipment and thought, how on earth do a stack of plates and a microwave actually translate into a serious educational curriculum, then you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking the exact equipment required for a tourism and hospitality lab and, crucially, mapping those physical tools directly to the specific learning outcomes expected in the syllabus.
We've got a lot of ground to cover. We're taking a zone-by-zone tour of the lab environment, starting with the overall lab concept, hitting the front office, food and beverage service, culinary prep, workplace safety, and finally wrapping up with how all this builds our future professionals. Let's get to it.
So here's the thing. The whole point is bridging the massive gap between what students read in their textbooks and the actual, practical, industry-ready skills they need out in the real world. I mean, reading about customer service is one thing, right? But standing behind a desk, operating a computerized system, and looking a guest in the eye, that is entirely different. This lab setup takes abstract concepts from those class 9 through 12 modules, things like hospitality etiquette or standard safety procedures, and literally puts them right into the student's hands.
All right, let's jump to our first zone, the front office and administration area. First impressions.
Because every great guest experience starts at the front desk, students have to get hands-on with a point of sale, or POS system, exactly like they would in a real hotel. So our lab is fully equipped with a dedicated billing machine, laptops, and multifunctional printers. This isn't just a typing exercise, folks. It's about managing real-time data, understanding billing cycles, and processing guest info fast. Actually, fun fact for you, a sluggish POS system is one of the absolute top drivers of guest dissatisfaction during check-in, so they've got to get this right.
And you can see here how the physical equipment on the left directly unlocks the Class 11 outcomes on the right. When students are tackling the modules on handling guest queries or arranging guest transfers, they're not just reading about it. They're literally using the lab's whiteboards to map out transfer schedules and firing up the laptops to simulate communication with travel agencies. Even having closed-circuit cameras installed in the lab drives home the reality of modern security protocols.
Looking at this excerpt from the Class 11 curriculum, it is blatantly obvious that front desk equipment is completely non-negotiable. You literally cannot effectively teach the prepare for providing customer service session without giving these students the actual real-world tools that a customer service rep relies on every single day.
Okay, so the guest is checked in and they're happily settled in their room. How do we go about teaching students the refined art of a perfect dining experience? It takes way more than just a friendly smile. That brings us to our second zone, food and beverage service, the dining experience.
Welcome to the absolute heart of hospitality etiquette. F&B service is so much more than just carrying plates from point A to point B. It's about professional presentation. It's about impeccable timing, spatial awareness, and a really high degree of professional dealing. In this industry, every single item placed on a restaurant table has a specific purpose and requires millimeter-perfect placement. To teach that choreography, the lab needs a full suite of table service essentials. We're talking 11-inch dinner plates, 9-inch dessert plates, precise soup bowls with Chinese spoons, wine glasses, the whole shebang. And it gets down to the finer psychological details too, like crisp table napkins, finger bowls with underliners, salt and pepper sets, and specialized service platters.
We can bridge these exact items directly to the Class 10 etiquette modules and the Class 12 customer-centric services. We're turning dinner forks into tools of high-level professional dealing. When a Class 10 student dives into etiquette and hospitable conduct, they are physically setting that table with wine glasses and folding those napkins. They learn firsthand that placing a finger bowl correctly is actually a powerful, nonverbal way of driving customer satisfaction.
And if you check out Unit 6 of the Class 12 syllabus here, which focuses heavily on assessing the quality of service, it makes total sense why students need these physical service platters. You really can't assess the quality of a dining service without handling the physical round and rectangular service trays, or managing those round buffet food warmers that make modern catering possible.
Next up, we're heading back of house, Section 3, Culinary Prep and Baking. The front of house is honestly only as good as the back of house, right? Here, the lab calls for some serious utility equipment, heat and power. We're talking minimum 24-liter convection and grill microwaves, plus heavy-duty juicer mixer grinders. But it's also about precision, so we have comprehensive baking kits with cake turn stands, hand mixers, silicone spatulas, piping bags with nozzles, and assorted aluminium molds. Oh, and specific sieves for filtering juice and flour, ensuring students really nail down those precise preparation techniques.
But it's not just about cooking a great meal. Getting hands-on with this equipment empowers students to master strict food standards and hygiene practices straight out of the Class 10 syllabus. When they're operating that convection oven or juicer, they're actively applying the personal hygiene practices from Unit 5. Learning how to properly clean a flour strainer isn't just a chore. It maps perfectly to the health and hygiene standards expected out in the industry.
Now, with all this heat, electricity, and fast-paced kitchen activity, how do we prepare these students for the unexpected hazards of a busy commercial environment? Accidents happen, but professionals are trained to handle them.
That leads us to our fourth and honestly most critical zone, workplace safety and health. This is the absolute foundation of a sustainable career in hospitality. And safety always starts with understanding personal protective equipment, or PPE. Whether you're dealing with hot surfaces, sharp knives, or strict sanitation protocols, the right gear is your very first line of defense. Because, maybe a not-so-fun fact, slips, trips, and burns actually make up the vast majority of all commercial kitchen incidents.
So the lab is actively outfitted with some essential safety gear to keep the learning space completely secure. We've got ABC-rated fire extinguishers, proper chef caps for strict hygiene, disposable stretchable caps, sturdy aprons to guard against spills, and heavy-duty oven gloves for safely handling those hot convection ovens we talked about.
By simply putting on that apron or grabbing an oven glove, students are directly applying the standard safety procedures detailed in the Class 10 and 12 modules. Class 10 covers precautions to avoid hazards, and Class 12 dives deep into safety at workplace. They're learning exactly when and how to use personal protective equipment during hazardous work. It takes textbook theory and turns it right into muscle memory.
All right, let's look at the future professionals, pulling it all together.
What might look like a totally dry, standard procurement list of items on paper, a dozen forks, a whiteboard, a fire extinguisher, is actually a dynamic, carefully mapped blueprint for building real careers. Every single item we've talked about was strategically chosen to unlock a specific competency in this curriculum.
By aligning every single service tray, POS machine, and oven glove with those specific syllabus goals, educators completely bridge the gap between theory and practice. The lab essentially becomes a microcosm of the entire hospitality industry. A student isn't just reading about gender and age-sensitive service practices, they're practicing them while serving a classmate from a 12-inch platter. They aren't just reading about communication, they're living it while operating the front desk.
So, with this roadmap clearly laid out, the question really isn't just whether your classrooms are ready for this equipment. The real question is, how many future hospitality leaders are we holding back if we don't give them the tangible tools to turn their textbook theory into tomorrow's 5-star experience? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you now see the incredible potential sitting right there on that lab equipment list.